I feel a call to ministry, but I'm not sure how to start getting invited to speak in churches and events. How did you get started? I got started in ministry by doing a lot of stuff out on the streets. I would drive up to Kelowna, British Columbia, and connect with Ron and Patricia, and we'd go out on the streets of the inner city of Vancouver and minister to the homeless and to the prostitutes and to the drug addicts. We'd even go and live for like a week at a time, go and live amongst them, not pretending that we were homeless or drug addicts or anything like that, but we would just let them know that they were worth it, that they had worth, they had value. We wanted to be there with them. And we'd spend a week going out on the streets and being right there in their midst and prophesying over them and praying over them and working miracles and encountering challenges, all of it. So most of how I got started was like that. It was, and then when I got officially started in ministry, when we came down here to Phoenix to establish our U.S. base, Ron and Patricia had been in ministry for, 30 years, and she was a very established speaker and minister. I started in ministry by loading and unloading the trucks and working at the book table. And there's a whole long story I could share on that. But the way you get started in ministry is by realizing life is ministry. Look around for opportunities to serve the heart and purposes of God and the people around you. If you're called to be a speaker, God will one day open doors for you to speak. He did for me, and I started probably, I don't know, was it 6 months or a year into working in our ministry, I started doing house revival meetings, and people would invite me to come and preach and minister and pray and work miracles and things like that. And many times it was 5 or 6 people, and I loved it. I would go, and to me it was no different than it was 500 or 600. I'd share the gospel with all my heart and worship with all my heart and expect Jesus to show up with all my heart because I knew he loved him. Don't wait for someone to invite you to be a speaker. Go out and share the gospel. Go out and share the reality of Jesus Christ everywhere you are. It's not about being given a pulpit. It's about responding to the invitation of God to release his kingdom out into the earth. And then trust God. I've been very fortunate that there's been many ups and downs for me in quote-unquote fivefold ministry or quote-unquote ministry or being called to the fivefold ministry. And what I've learned is we really need to simply take our Heavenly Father's hand and follow him where he leads. And the more challenges we're faced with, the better off we are, because we then have to learn to trust him completely and utterly. Don't worry about striving to get the pulpit. I can tell you that specifically because early on I did. I didn't get saved till I was almost 39. God called me into full-time ministry a year later. I started when I was 40 years old. And one of the greatest things that was done for me is Patricia and Ron saw that because I was kind of like, okay, I'm starting later than everybody else in this generation of ministers. I'm already 40 years old. Most of them are in their mid to late 20s. So I'm already behind simply in age. So I got to start making things happen. And Patricia and Ron saw me striving, trying to make a career out of my calling. And they were so loving and so supportive and so wonderful. And that they really helped me. They kind of got me to put my idea of what ministry was on the altar, being a speaker, being given the pulpit, all of that. And they blessed me to learn that ministry is servanthood and serving. And so really what became my ministry was loading and unloading the truck, setting things up for our events, working the book table. And I can remember the day I said to God, Lord, if this is what you have for me, working a book table and selling somebody else's resources, so be it. I trust you. All I want is to follow you into whatever my call is. If this is it, I have simply one request for you. And my request wasn't open doors for me to speak. My request was, if this is what you have for me to do, all I ask is you make me the best book table worker the world has ever seen. Teach me to serve your purposes and your people as a book table worker. And it was pretty cool because he would show, all of a sudden I started to activate the prophetic gifting in me at the book table because I'd ask God as people came up to me, Lord, what resource will serve them the best? And I wouldn't give it as a prophetic word so people would see, oh, he's anointed. It was, how can I serve them? How can I use the gifts and callings on my life to serve people? If what you've given me as a ministry is connecting them with resources, then help me be really good at it. I think that's how we get started in ministry. We simply ask God, how can we be of service to him exactly where we are?